A U.S. Navy sailor is in federal custody, sentenced to 20 years in prison after being wrongfully convicted for illegally selling machine guns, despite never actually selling a single gun at all, and all based on lies from the ATF. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. First off the bat, so you guys know, Liberty Toddler is in the office with me today. She is behind me watching, well, behind the camera rather, watching some Peppa Pig. Hopefully it's not being picked up by the mic. Hopefully she doesn't go all crazy and grab my dummy grenade back there again. But if she did, it would be timely because this video is about a story in which someone got in trouble for dummy and replica items like that same grenade. Now, these are the kinds of stories that I wish I didn't have to cover because I wish that they didn't exist. But the fact of the matter is, one of the things that I like to do most on this channel is uncovering and reporting on gross oversteps by the ATF, DOJ, or pretty much any other government agency, and this is definitely one of those cases where a huge injustice has been done. Now, the ATF is famous in the gun community for entrapment, lies, and ever-involving definitions of what is and isn't a firearm. This has resulted in all kinds of cases and charges against legal gun owners exercising their rights, now including a 28-year-old ex-Navy sailor who now sits in a federal prison in New Jersey and has been sentenced to stay there until 2042. So today I will be telling you about Patrick Tate Adamiak. I could be saying his name wrong. He goes by Tate, so I will call him Tate so that I don't keep butchering his name in this video. But this video is about Tate and the hoops that ATF jumped through to get their bogus conviction. Because, despite the charges against him, Tate never actually sold a single real firearm. He was one of GunBroker's top 500 dealers and sold $10,000 worth of things off that account, but it was all military gear and legal gun parts. So Tate enlisted in the Navy at 17, where he became an E6 Master at Arms. He earned a bachelor's degree, was working on a master's, and was working towards becoming a Navy SEAL when he was arrested. He says that he was always into guns, grew up shooting with his dad, and had been building a collection with his dad for years, saying it was their hobby that they shared. His goal was eventually to build a military display museum. So he started buying, selling, and trading, even got an LLC, business license, and tax number to sell off extra pieces to pay for his hobby. Everything was on the up and up, only selling unregulated parts and nothing that required an FFL. But it was apparently this hobby that later would lead to the ATF taking him down over a couple replica firearms. It was, in fact, a replica Mark 19 grenade launcher and a replica M240 machine gun, which were his downfall, thanks to a confidential informant who was cooperating with the ATF to work off felon in possession charges. So, of course, we can expect someone with their own skin in the game to be completely honest and unbiased. But before I tell you how this all went down and how ridiculous it is, this video is brought to you by the attorneys on retainer. If you ever find yourself in a self-defense incident, you don't want to have to face it alone. The folks in the Attorneys on Retainer program, brought to you by the Attorneys for Freedom, are actual attorneys who have been defending gun owners since 1997. And they are not an insurance program, which means that they don't have the same restrictions as insurance companies, and a call to their hotline instantly puts you on the phone with a lawyer ready to give you on-the-spot legal advice. Their only requirements are that you reasonably acted in good faith and that the incident happened after purchasing coverage, which means that they will even cover the questionable or so-called bad shoots, incidents in gun-free zones, unlicensed guns, domestics, accidents, you name it. They cover everything from felonies to misdemeanors, even appeals and bail bonds, and even if you are charged with a crime. Now, all of these are things that we have seen some high-profile cases in the last couple of years where these things might not be covered by concealed carry insurance. Personally, I would rather be safe than sorry. So, switch on over from your existing self-defense coverage today by heading on over to my link down in the description and use code LibertyDoll to get $50 off your individual sign-up. Now back to today's story. This CI was apparently paid $8,000 with promise to get his charges dropped in order to try and get Tate to find a machine gun for him to buy, which Tate never did. He did get him a shroud off of Gunbroker, but that was it. For some reason, this CI guy ended up at Tate's house dropping off military gear. Now, it's not really clear from the reporting by the Second Amendment Foundation whether or not the CI was another dealer on Gunbroker who was supplying Tate with surplus gear or not. Either way, that point doesn't really matter. What matters is that while at Tate's house, he saw the replica grenade launcher and replica belt-fed machine gun and asked Tate if he had a Class 3 FFL. Tate told him no, informed him that they were replicas, but then from then on, he was approached by multiple people suddenly asking him to get them machine guns. In every case, he refused even providing a copy of the NFA. The only thing he did agree to do was get someone a PPSH-41 barrel shroud, which is for a Soviet submachine gun, but the shroud is not itself classified as a firearm. But the ATF petitioned a judge for a warrant based on that exact barrel shroud, writing in the criminal complaint that the shroud was a machine gun. And of course, the judge apparently knows nothing about firearms and is going to believe the agency that is supposed to be responsible for regulating and enforcing the law on firearms. Well, over 40 federal agents and cops showed up from multiple agencies. The raid had guys from ATF, FBI, HIS, NCIS, SWAT, a bomb squad, and local police. They turned Tate's house upside down for hours, handcuffed him and his family, and seized 35 replica firearms and parts, called them, quote, suspected machine guns and destructive devices, and seized some of his money and antique silver, claiming that they were proceeds from illegal activity. That antique silver had been his personal savings. So now the guy is in prison and he has no money. And the ATF did not seize a single working or illegal weapon. Still, the indictment charged him with possessing 33 machine guns. Tate and his lawyer hired former ATF senior official Dan O'Kelly as a defense witness. Now, he had been a pretty big deal while at the agency, and after he came onto the case, suddenly the ATF re-indicted Tate, this time on only a single charge of possession of one machine gun and 4 destructive devices. These were regarding a receiver, 2 Title I, which means over-the-counter grenade launchers that are legal for anyone to own, that did not even have the grenade barrels on them and instead had separate 37mm barrels that are completely legal to own, are not NFA items, and were originally designed as signaling devices in World War II. From my admittedly limited research, they primarily shoot flares and smoke rounds. The final charges were based on 2 inert RPGs, which were missing all of their functional parts and had holes drilled into their chambers. So already, this is pretty fishy. Then, the DOJ tried to block O'Kelly's testimony, saying that any testimony about the actual definitions of frame or receiver of a machine gun were irrelevant and would only confuse the jury, even though those very definitions are what the case hinged on. Then the government's attorney went even further. She claimed that despite buying his home before starting his business, that Tate had paid for his house with money from illegal gun trafficking. She said that Gunbroker is the dark web. She used his military training against him. She claimed that despite having detailed records for every single part he sold, he'd stolen them from the military. She accused him of running his business out of greed, and because he had some of his grandfather's trophies from serving in World War II, she attempted to paint him as a neo-Nazi. The prosecution also claimed the ATF CI warned Tate about his illegal weapons, despite Tate saying that that never actually happened, and despite the so-called machine gun in question not actually being capable of chambering a round because it was a replica. The RPGs also weren't capable of firing, so the ATF took them to their lab, completely rebuilt them with components of real working RPGs, still had to create a self-contained firearm mechanism to drop into them to prove that Tate could potentially have turned them into working weapons. And even after all this, the ATF only got them to fire a single .30 caliber training round and called it proof. Then they showed the jury a bunch of irrelevant gun parts from his collection, including shrouds and a photo of an agent holding the replica belt-fed machine gun, and told the jury that each one was a working, full machine gun, despite the ATF's own report saying otherwise. And between the jury knowing nothing about guns, clearly, and his attorneys, for some reason, never calling on O'Kelly to testify and provide real definitions despite the fact that he had paid thousands of dollars for this guy, Tate lost his case and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. In a press release on the case, the ATF even claimed that they'd caught Tate selling illegal machine guns all over Gunbroker for a period of 7 months between 2021 and 2022, and claimed that their CI had bought 8 illegal machine guns from him. The press release also claimed that they seized 25 illegal unregistered guns from him, as well as anti-tank missile launchers and grenade launchers. Again, despite all of these either being replicas or rendered inoperable. In fact, news reports on the case even properly identified many of these items as parts. So the news reports have it, the ATF original complaint and report has it, but the press release says something different, and they told the jury something completely different in court. And it seems that it was only the judge and jury that believed the ATF, as the Navy never even prosecuted him. They didn't even demote him. In fact, they let him burn through his personal leave in jail and continued paying him. After he ran out of leave, they gave him an honorable discharge. Now he's got what I believe is a new attorney working on the case to try and get him out, and is doing so, from what I know, completely pro bono. Still, there is a Give Send Go fundraiser that I will link down in the description. Tate never received a single letter, phone call, or warning from the ATF before any of this happened. The agency even seized his family's electronic devices that they used for work, originally held him for 7 days without a hearing and without telling him what he'd been accused of, and stole all of the family's savings. To add insult to injury, his mother died only a month after his arrest. So the guy has been through some crap. So I am hoping that covering this will bring the case to more people's attention. Maybe he'll get more donations. Maybe some other people will sign onto the case. I don't know how I missed it when it originally went down in 2022, because this is the first that I am hearing of this case. But as Tate recently told the Second Amendment Foundation's investigative journalism project, this assault on our liberties could happen to any American exercising their rights. It's because all of you that I have hope that my freedom will soon be restored. And hopefully, this video will help towards that end. All right, folks, that is it for this video. Like I said in the beginning, these are the kinds of stories that I think are really important to cover, though I wish that they did not exist. So if any updates about this story come out, I will be sure to tell you guys. I will be keeping track of any appeals or anything that might come up. In the meantime, you guys know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are new here. Ring the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and happy shooting.